Hello, this is Belligerent 34, and I wanted to
Inventory.
go over some Dark Hours raid builds. I've been noticing a lot of newer people are playing, and I might be putting out some information that a lot of people already know, but this is kind of geared towards newer players. Um, you might learn something too. Who knows? If you're a veteran, I'm not gonna say I am, like the best at this game, but I have played it for quite some time. I've learned a ton of stuff from a lot of different people, and just like to share that with you guys, give you some ideas of what like raid builds look like, um, things that are kind of expected, and then you can take it from there and experiment with different things. So here's the first standard thing, DPS build. What you're looking for is all red. Everywhere you go, all red. There's some name pieces that are probably some of the best ones you could put on DPS build, especially these here, the Fox's Prayers. And it's because of that damage that targets out of cover. One of the best stats you can put to boost your damage on gear, guns, wherever you can find it, you can put it there. It only comes in like a few spots, so it's only kicker. Alright. And some people like the contractor's gloves. Some people would run, something else. I have a gift here. It's a Providence name piece, comes out of the Dark Zone, or you can get out named item caches. Finally got one with crit hit chance, crit hit damage. And those are the main stats that you want on all your pieces if you can get it. Weapon damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. I'm modding crit hit damage on it. So, I get this. 3 pieces of Providence. All 3 of the set bonuses there are going to do nothing but improve your damage. And then, I'm over shade level 1000. So instead of a Grupo, if you're under it, you could do a Seska for the crit hit chance. You want to try to get your crit hit chance around, 50%, and then as much crit hit damage as you can. Like 150 is a kind of a baseline mark. And I'm wearing Perfect Glass Cannon. For beginners, I would recommend that you find another piece similar to this with Unbreakable. Because in a raid, you're not familiar with it, you're going to make mistakes. It's expected, but that's how you're going to learn. Unbreakable will save your butt, and it's on a 1-minute cooldown. It's a pretty good starter piece. If you don't, if you're a little bit more experienced in that, some spots, tamper-proof can be used just to kind of help you get, look at it like as like training wheels. A lot of people, like once you get into like better groups, they will frown upon this kind of stuff, using tamper-proof, because it does kind of nerf your damage a little bit, but it'll help you control the ads better. So use sparingly. But Obliterate, pretty good all-around damage one. So if you're not a glass cannon guy, Obliterate's probably your next best thing. And then the backpack doesn't have to be perfect vigilance, but you definitely want to get vigilance. There's a lot of other talents, but this one, it is probably one of the best ones, right? And then for weapons, right? Pretty easy. Cannot beat the classic M1A rifle for damage per bullet. Okay, it's just, like instead of marksman rifles, like this thing hits hard, hits like a truck. And these are the rolls you want on it. You want rifle damage, it's going to come with that. It already comes with crit hit damage, but you want to make sure you put damage to targets out of cover on it. Boomerang is a very solid talent to have on it. If you are a little more skilled or want to challenge, you could try the same weapon but use Rifleman, land headshots. You'll do even more damage. And it doesn't hurt to have, like a buff sledgehammer. But in this one, I put damage to armor just because it works well with sledgehammer. Throwing grenades, stuff like that. Comparable weapon could be M1A, CQB. Stage left is a little bit weaker, but it's still got that perfect sledgehammer. Just some different rifle weapon choices. And then, as like a secondary, I'd use an assault rifle, for those up close and personal ones. Um, I like the FAMAS. There's a ton of good ARs to pick from. AKM, slow firing, hits real hard. Carbine 7, if you can get rolls like this, then you can change that overflow talent. You know, there's a lot of good ones. These named ones, though, you gotta read their talents right and make sure that you have a way to pulse them. And I could talk about specializations in a second. This works really good with, like, you could do a scanner pulse or the tactician. And it's got that built-in laser pointer. And, you know, police M4. I don't have any of those on here. And then I like this TDI card custom. If you can ever get your hands on it, don't throw it away, don't break it, because it's got this skill tier on it. And what you can do with that in the raid is if you, usually you're going to have a reviver hive, because if you go down, it's very limited pickups in the raid. But if you switch to your pistol and you throw the hive out, you get 2 charges instead of 1. So you could pick up a teammate, go get your hive, and have it for yourself. And then the other skill I use, blinder, it could be a lot of stuff. It could be turrets, decoys, you know, chems and stuff. I don't really recommend shields too much unless you know what you're doing, like, but not really on a DPS build. And then my stats, I've got everything pretty much maxed out like this: 51, 250, or 205. And then mods, because my crit chance is over 150, I can put a little more crit damage on this. But I'm using the Demolitionist for the 7% crit chance mod, 100 barrel. And I just kind of have this modded similarly. I always like Optimus on assault rifles, but there's a lot of good talents too. Measured's not bad. You know, it's preferences, what you're comfortable with. You know, some people even use like a Scorpio. You know, it's just to kind of help control the ads. Alright, and some variations on this. If you ever get these pieces, you could put a gunslinger on. You could change this to a Regulus if you ever get it. And because you did that, you have lost some crit chance, so you can change mods on your weapons back to crit chance instead of crit damage. But this is a lot of fun too. With this, and hitting this, and hitting a headshot, just blows stuff up. Even if it doesn't hit a headshot, it still does a ton of damage. So that's DPS right there. Next couple builds I'll talk about are going to be Future Initiative. Alright, there are some parts in Dark Hours, which is where most of these builds will come into handy, where you can use a healer. Depends on your setup and your makeup and stuff, but if you were going to put together a Future Initiative build, this is what I would recommend. Some people say you could put nothing but repair skills on all the other things. I like having just a little bit more skill haste, just to be able to get your chems and stuff back a little bit longer. And one of the reasons I go about this is I look at that ally repair over there. It's like over 1 million. Now, you take a look at people's armor. There's not going to be a whole lot of people with 1 million armor in a raid. Even some of the tanks are good. I mean, if there's a tank, they'd be the only ones, really. So, I feel like a lot of that's overheal. So I'd rather get my stuff back a little bit quicker and just kind of mix and match, you know, repair skills and skill haste. But the biggest thing about the Future Initiative is this buff right here. That the ground control goes from 15 to 25%. And what that is it's weapon damage and skill damage. It just says when you're at full armor. So I think that applies to like everybody. As long as they're at full health, they have that buff. Now this is the other important part of it. Opportunistic. So you will be using an Alp Summit just because it's got that extra repair skills in it. You'll be using the BTSU gloves because you can blow up your hive, reset people's hives. And Scorpio is a really good choice for this kind of build. Or you could use a Lefty, which I have in here somewhere. Where is it? Right there. This thing's pretty decent. And it works really well with your fire grenades because you don't just have to hit them with a grenade. If they walk into that fire pool and you got your lefty equipped, it sets them on fire and it puts that buff on them. Then you could switch over to your Scorpio, stack that buff on them, and you just gave your team a ton of extra damage. Sidearm doesn't really matter. I just found, a Magnum with Reformation on it. You could put whatever you really want there. It doesn't matter. But it's up to you how you want to put your skills, or your, not your skills, your attributes and stuff, and your mods. But these pieces are pretty much going to be locked in place. And this is, you're using a chem, you're using your hive, you mod healing, health, repair charges, heal. That second one where it says skill haste, you could do duration, you could do that extra ammo. It's really up to you. But this is the build. And it'll come in handy in some spots, not throughout the whole raid. Now the other version of this is what they call a red future. Okay. Now, just like the other one, there's a couple different ways to set this stuff up, right? It's still the same bonuses that you get. It's just instead of yellow stuff, you have red. You're still going to give people that 25% bonus, weapon skill damage. Now, your stats aren't going to be the best, You can see it's going to be... I went for a little more crit damage instead of chance. So to kind of balance that out, I'm using an SMG to make up that crit chance and then mod like a lot of crit chance. Now I'm using the Grudge just because with this kind of stuff, flame grenades, Scorpio, you might be able to give your team a pretty solid, crit chance, crit damage buff. But you don't have to run it this way. These are just some ideas, And the D50 is one of the hardest hitting, just high-end pistols. I always like having damage to targets out of cover on it, and I like finisher, But you can, with this, with the gunslinger, your buff could be, your talent could be anything you really want, but finisher's nice. Pretty much save you in a pinch. And you're just, probably going to be using your Scorpio as your main. You can proc opportunistic on it, but if you wanted to use this on Razorback, you make a few changes. First, you'd have to switch to a Ravenous, if you have that weapon. If you don't, it comes from Iron Horse. And then you could use, let's see what I hear, some options, okay? The Arcanist Cookbook. It is a Golan name piece, right? It's got status effects. It's pretty easy. Shoot something with the Scorpio, and you get 18% weapon damage for almost 30 seconds. That's a good choice, because you got some status effect stuff going on. You could do a Hermano, right? I would, if you can get an all red one, that's good, but this one's not too bad. That overclock buff is really strong in a lot of situations. You just have to change your skills around. Maybe instead of a regular hive, you could use the healing hive, maybe even a booster hive, depending on the fights. Like for the second boss, it could work really well there. Or go back to your, Providence backpack. Doesn't have to be the gift, but you could, if you want headshot damage, it's just going to make that gunslinger shot a little bit stronger, or crit chance, crit damage. It's your call. It's, like I said, a couple different ways to do it. But this is just my take on it, and if you didn't want to run a gunslinger, put another future piece there. Maybe switch this to Fox's Prayers. It'll boost your damage. Or you could do Contractor's Gloves. You could mix and match whatever you want, right? So those are the two future builds. Next one, Hardwire build, right? You could be Survivalist or Demolitionist. A lot of people tend to run it as a Survivalist. You get protection from elites on it. Your one job is to kill drones on Razorback. This is probably one of the easiest setups to do it. There is a number of different ways to jam. Like you could do a Vile Mask, you could do a Future Initiative one with like a skilled backpack that like it's, when you're in cover, it resets cooldowns when you kill shit. It's a little bit slower, kind of not as effective, but try them out. But this one's pretty simple. 4 hardware pieces. Everything has skill damage. You can mod however you want. You don't necessarily need haste here because the hardware buff, it decreases the cooldowns and you won't really have to worry about it. You could even put protection from elites. You could put armor on kill in these mods. You could even just put more healing because you will be healing some people. Some people are, excuse me, some people are going to get hit by mortars and just bullets and random stuff, so it's not going to hurt. But Wyvern piece, skill damage, glass cannon, skill damage, skill haste, BTSU gloves, so you can overcharge. And of course you're using jammer, you use radius and effect duration. And your weapons are, kind of your choice. Like an assault rifle just to be able to do some damage on Razorback, Scorpio to kind of slow down any adds that get close to you. I have an orbit, it's whatever you really want. You can use concussion grenades just in case maybe the people on the plates are new or not sure what they're doing, just as a backup. If they do know what they're doing, by all means use your fire grenade. Throw that wherever you see ads, and it will definitely help your Overwatch out a lot. Right? And let's see here, another build. There's only really going to be one spot you're ever going to use this, and Negotiator's Dilemma really works great on Boomer. Now, it is very specific for like this setup here, right? You do want weapon damage and crit damage on all your pieces. Okay? And the reason for that is because we're going to use the Diamondback with this. Not a lot of people use this. It's a very wonky weapon to kind of get used to. Doesn't handle the best, but it will hit like you won't believe how hard. Now, the only thing I could do to maybe improve this is instead of a Providence, put a Grupo there for just that extra crit damage. Because the way this works is you want the backpack. You see the set bonuses, right? Crit chance, crit damage, critical hits will mark, something, right? And then basically when you critically hit a marked enemy, all of the enemies take that damage. It normally says 60%, but the backpack makes it 100%. So all the damage you do gets transferred. This is why this is important for Boomer. I also use the Grudge, because with it, you have 60% crit hit chance, which is the cap. Can't go any higher. So what I do with this is, you want to be on one of the corners, because that's where most of the ads are, so you can mark them. The Boomer comes out. You're going to go up to him, not too close, but close enough to hit him. Shoot him like in the foot after, and this is important, after somebody that's kiting breaks his chest piece. Once they break that chest piece, they get the eye. Then you should see your mark go up on him. You just empty your clip until you see it up there. Then you go back to your ads. Now anything that you can critically hit on, which this comes into play, when you bring this out, it's going to target things for you, a little orange line. You'll hear weird noises and shit. If you hit that marked target, you critically hit it, you mark it, and then every time you hit it after that, it's another critical hit. And it does, amplified damage, right? Is what it says there. Only thing is, it's got 5 bullets. You have to reload one at a time. So it's a little tricky to get used to, but it can definitely make that Boomer fight quicker and easier. You do not have to run Kaido's mask. This is just how I set it up. You can, like I said, you can maybe switch, put a Negotiators here, do a Fox's Prayers there, because this is a rifle. It's just going to make it hit even harder. I'm using Riot Foam and Shock Traps, maybe proc, the Perfect Vindictive, frag grenades just in case I catch something. And you can switch to this when you're throwing these and make them stronger. But it is a weird set. It could be a very powerful set once you get used to it. You mark the target first that you want to take damage, which is going to be Boomer, and then you go around killing all the ads. And every time he goes down, you just try to refresh your mark. If you got a good team, there won't be anything on the map, and Diamondback's just automatically going to target them. You hit them, put the mark on them, then you switch back to your ads, and keep killing stuff. It's just rinse and repeat, And then there's another like kite build, right? So this is also boomer. You could use this in a couple, like pretty much the first 3 fights if you wanted to. You know, you give your team that perfect Vanguard buff. I like running, you know, you could run opportunistic just to give more damage. This is like a red DPS kite build, you know, with the Crusader shield. Your main weapon is the Scorpio. It doesn't hurt that I like to have like an assault rifle. You know, keep your reviver hive. So you can kite boomer with like a red DPS build like this, like the red future build that I showed you earlier, or just a normal like the yellow future and heal. You know, so there's a couple different ways to do it. But the reason you want to use a Scorpio, other than you're trying to proc opportunistic, is that you can double down him with this, and that's a little bit of, you know, stacking the buffs. You know, it's the 6th shot, so you get 5 on him. As he's trying to stand up, you hit him with that 6th shot, he'll get electrified. The guy in the gun can shoot him in the back and bring him down a 2nd time. Definitely makes the fight go a lot quicker and smoother. And okay, the other thing is, where is it? Right, no, right here. This is the one-shot builds for Razorback. So the only place you're really going to use it is on Razorback, and this is how you set it up. Okay, you got the Punch Drunk, Douglas and Harding name piece. Pistol damage, headshot damage is built into it. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can put as much headshot damage as you can fit on all your pieces, or you can kind of mix a little bit of crit with some crit damage. However you really want to do it. You can play around with it, see what you like. Alright, I'm definitely using Glass Cannon. You have to have the Gunslinger. Fox's Prayer is definitely going to help. I have 3 pieces of Providence, you know, to get that extra crit damage. You know, your gloves could be, you know, comparable to, like, you know, the, what is it? You could do Contractors maybe, but then you lose like a little bit of damage because there's not a lot of things that have armor when you're fighting Razorback. Most of it is all health damage, from the dogs to the boomers to the red NPCs. The only ones that have armor are any purple ads and the yellows, and they only come out every so often. Razorback's all health damage, which is mostly on ARs or any of the bottom attributes that you put health, you know, damage to health or something on there, right? But once again, D50, and all you do, and you have to have the Ravenous. You have to stack your Ravenous, right? The way the rotation works is there's 5 shots from the left, which is going to put a blue mark on, and you do 1 on the right to proc it. Then you do it again, so it's 5 left, 1 right, 5 left, 1 right. You do it twice real quick, and you could see this damage, you know, gives you armor, amplified damage to armor plates. Once you get that buff double stack, you quick switch to this, fire 1 shot, and boom, you will see the weak points get depleted in an instant. Now the trick to it is you do not have to wait for the weak points to come out in order to start, you know, stacking your buffs. You can stack it right on Razorback. As long as you can see that buff starting to stack on it, you can shoot Razorback itself. You know, there are some spots that are better than others, and by the time, if you time it right, once the weak point comes out, you just switch to your pistol and boom, it's gone. Makes it doing it very quick. You will guarantee a lot of damage, and that's pretty much the, let me just double check. That's pretty much the, yeah, the builds I wanted to show you for Dark Hours. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.